I really wish that Charlie was right in just saying that it would have been nice to document the move, and that this was me making a video about the fact that the flat is empty and I am moving to Cardiff. But something happened, and Dolores O'Riordan, the singer and songwriter of the Cranberries, passed away yesterday here in London. I'm talking about this because it's something from a very long time ago, but I knew Dolores. She was a very special human being. I knew her personally. I met her the first time when I was 16. It was 1999. And she had this thing where she was very... It was very likely that she would take a liking to devoted fans, and sort of brought them in this sort of virtual family that the people that would follow her on tour would be. And I was one of those lucky people. I received so many messages yesterday from people that I haven't heard from in decades, asking me if I was all right, or just sending me their condolences. And I feel so inappropriate in a way, even mourning, because as much as I sort of knew her, there's people who are actually gonna be affected by this, and I wouldn't be where I am today without having met Dolores. I discovered the Cranberries. Well, I didn't discover them, but I started to follow the Cranberries in 1999 because, silly thing, a guy that I had a crush on at the time had this tape and gave me the tape, and I absolutely fell in love with the sound of Dreaming My Dreams at the time. And 6 months later, they were playing in Italy. I was still living there. I went to see them. They had 2 dates. Very, like, it would... I knew exactly the dates. It was the 7th of November 1999. They were playing in Bologna. And 2 days later, they were playing in Milan, the 9th. And I had tickets for both. I went to Bologna, got my first row, screaming and shouting and singing every word. And at the time, it was such a big deal to see someone so big that you've seen on TV, not just on TV, but I had seen her on MTV when it started broadcasting in Italy, and to me it was just a projection of everything that was outside and big. And it was surreal to be in the same room. And 2 days later, I had this hunch. They always said that when pop stars went to Milan, they stayed in this hotel which is called Principe di Savoia. So I just had the hunch, and before the gig, I convinced my mother to go there. And the hunch was right, and she was staying there. And so I waited, not even that long, I think. And she got out, and she stopped to talk to a few fans. Consider that at the time, English wasn't a thing for me. Like, I literally had to study and work the words that I had to learn by memory to then tell her. And I remember the sentence that I came up with at the time was, "You're the greatest thing that I love in the world," which I realize now really doesn't make any much sense. But I go there and I say that, and I express how much I suppose I tried to express how much I loved her art and music. And I remember her staring at me like she's trying to figure out something. And then she was like, "You were in Bologna 2 days ago, weren't you?" And I'm like, "Uh-huh." And I was like, yeah, I was. Oh, that's right, because I remember you. I remember your lovely red head. And that was the first thing that made me realize Dolores wasn't like any other um, rock star anywhere. Who has, in that position, who has the perception and the memory alone to remember not the people you meet, not even all the people you meet, but the people you haven't met and you've just seen in a hundred of a line. Because surely she wasn't just remembering me, she was remembering the other faces that were there too. I just happened to be there again, and she remembered, and she brought it up, and she brought it up to me. And that was what always happened with Dolores. First time I met her was the 9th of November. 10 days later, she was playing in Switzerland, in Geneva. And I remember at the time internet wasn't quite like on the spot as it is today. It was much more complicated to even get tickets for somewhere abroad. So I remember that I made this point in my head to ask, well, her tour manager, which at the time was also her husband, Don Burton, if they knew if it was sold out. Which, in hindsight, was a really silly thing to do. But I asked that, and she turned to her husband, and then she turned back to me, saying, "Write down your name." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Do you need my address? Do you need..." No, just write down your name." I write down my name, and she takes it, reads it, give it to her husband, and it's like, "Right, when you get to Geneva, go to the ticket box, there's gonna be 2 tickets there for you." Because that's what she used to do. You showed her that you cared about what she did, and she had the sensitivity to understand that all those little things that are extras for fans were gonna change our lives. Because it's something that I've never seen before, and I've never seen again in any musician, in any artist that I've dealt with, that I've worked with. That level of understanding what your position means to people that look up to you, and how even the most little, the littlest of gesture will mean to them. Nobody else ever had that understanding, and nobody else ever had that attention to detail to actually put it in place. She used to call people by name from the stage. There is a recording of the gig that they did here in London at the Royal Albert Hall in 2010, where by the end, I want to say of Ordinary Day, you can hear her say, "Hi, Alicia." Like in the recording, in the official CD for that. Like that was the kind of thing that she did. I got invited to private events. I was no one. I never actually got to work with them. This was me being a teenager. So I didn't even have the excuse of being a professional of the music industry. I wanted to work into the music industry actually because of her, because seeing what kind of sensitivity, what kind of kindred spirits I thought there would be, because she was the example. I was like, right, this is the kind of thing that I want to do, because there are these amazing people there. And they were not to that level. Like Dolores was very unique in that sense. At some point I was given her husband number so that I could ask if there were events that I wanted to go, if they could get me in there. I got him, and again, it wasn't just me. Like, this is not me being special at all. Like, there's this Greek girl that I know was invited to a lot of things, and she was in complete devotion of Dolores, because when you behave like that to people, to girls that are looking up to you because you're offering an alternative to all the female singers, the female artists that were around at that time, you're giving us an alternative that wasn't necessarily... This is an entirely different concept and discussion. And yeah, the thing is, one of the webzines that I used to write for. And I happen to just still be part of the moderators group, and I'm still part of their staff room, even though I haven't actually worked there for 2 years now. Um, the editor, the editor-in-chief asked if anyone wanted to write a piece, a tribute or the obituary. Let's be honest, about Dolores. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, I haven't written for you guys in a very long time, but if you will let me, I I would I would be honored. I would feel privileged to have the chance to put down one of the many rightful tribute that will be put out for her. And I probably go more in depth there, but also the position that she had in giving girls uh, an aim that didn't have to do with our gender or with how female gender is perceived, especially in the entertainment industry. It was unprecedented. She was so sensitive, and I'm afraid that the sensitivity might have made her too fragile. I always had the impression that she sort of stayed in that mindset when it's about feelings that you have when you're a teenager, when you feel so strong. And I remember noticing it from the way that she wrote, and she never had that. There are different styles when you're a songwriter, but she never actually wrote in storytelling mode. She was always talking about herself or things that she was experiencing, which in a way all artists do, don't they? They just sometimes just put it in storytelling, but yeah, that was always a personal experience. I got to see her one last time in 2010. She played London, and I was at the relative beginning of my career. I had been working in the music industry for 3 years at the time. I'd started at MTV. The funny thing is, when I started at MTV, I was the intern for the department in Italy that would do interviews with international artists. And one of my tasks was to transcribe, to log interviews, basically. And the first interview that I had to log was hers. They had just interviewed her the week before I started, and I was transcribing it. But yeah, I never actually got to meet her after I actually started working in the music industry. And I started working in the music industry again because of her. And the way she made me feel special and privileged, and made me think that everybody in that context would have been as nice as her. And the people that were working around her were like one of the main actual people that I've ever met. That inspired me to take this as a proper profession. Not just I want to work into this kind of environment, but I want to be that. When I grow up, I want to be that. Was her product manager in Italy, Alessandro, who was just as kind and as... It was something that amazed me, the way that Dolores and the people around her tended to have this is the highest level of kindness and respect for whoever they had around. At the time, I was a 16-year-old fan and teenager. I was odd nil, absolute zero. I've seen people working in the music industry treat fans like shit because they feel like they are someone to be superior from. And that's how most behave. But these people, at this point, this woman had sold like 20 million albums. She was famous all around the world. She owed nothing to anyone. If she actually wanted her own time in her private space, she would have been more than right to just dismiss fans as most artists would do. She didn't. Her entourage never did. Uh, I remember a product manager bending backwards one time that I had won a meet and greet, and I was supposed to have tickets as well, but they weren't there, so I wasn't supposed to see the gig then at that point. He turned the entire venue upside down because it's like, no, she won this, it's our responsibility to make up for this. And he apologized so profusely, and I was like, this person is in such a position of power to me right now, and he's behaving like he's doing a service for me, like he's there to service me in a way. And I was like, I this is beyond, I am not that special. Or maybe that was actually one of the points. If someone in a position like Dolores that you look up to makes you feel like you are that special, that gives you a lot of strength. That makes you believe, well, maybe it's worth for me trying and do things, because if she thinks that I am this bit good, then maybe I can be. And that was, I think that's the legacy. That's the main legacy that I can see in Dolores as a human being, not just an artist. Like, then we can get into the music, and that would be amazing and unique. Like, she brought something that nobody did, nobody has done before, and nobody will do after. Like, her style of singing, it will always just be unique to her. I remember what song did I made a rendition of something, I think of Al J, actually, years ago. And my friend Alfredo was able to tell, oh, I can tell that you come from listening, Dolores, because you can't help when you go to that kind of notes to do sort of that thing that she used to do with her voice. I can't believe she's gone. The thing is, in a way, maybe I should have done this video yesterday when it was more raw. Right now, the safe way that my brain goes to oblivion has already sort of kicked in. So in a way, it's like, oh no, it's just because I haven't seen her in like 8 years. But it's just that, like, she's still around, I just haven't seen her. My brain goes weird about that this way, because that's the crazy thing. I don't think, when I found out yesterday, I was packing, and people started tagging me in the news, and the way that it blocked the air in my lungs, and I just went still. I didn't even start crying. I just went, stop, pause, put pause on leaving, and yeah, it's. I hadn't felt like that since I was 12, and back then my grandmother died. I didn't think that I would have. I thought that I was safe from death. I thought that in my adult life I wouldn't have had to deal with any deaths that would have actually affected me. Because I don't have family, I don't have that kind of thing anymore, so that was gonna be alright. But this, I can't claim that this was a person in my life, but this person influenced my life a lot. Now everything is packed and everything has been moved, but in one of the boxes there's the stash of my old journals, my old diaries. And I remember they start in 97, and there's the one from 99 that said, they literally had the sentence. At the time I used to write as if I was writing to her, to Dolores, and there's literally a sentence I remember saying, that is why I am writing my diaries in English, because I have this, if I write them in English, I can have the hope that one day I will be able to share my thoughts with you and have a conversation with you and sort of exercise and train myself in being able to express my thoughts and feelings in English, because if I do, then I would be able to maybe share with you. I think being a fan of Dolores was one of the purest forms of admiration I ever felt. It was the first time that I ever looked at someone and was like, I appreciate so much these kind of attitudes and these kind of behaviors that is what I should aim for. So if the way that she was kind inspired me to try and be kind the same way to other people. The way that she inspired me to try and become something and do things that could inspire other people. That was why at the time Geneticus was my dream, because the way that I got in contact with her changed my life. That's why I moved to Dublin. That's why then I had the chance to even move to London. That's why I learned English at all. So everything I did was inspired by trying to give something back, because she inspired me and changed my life inadvertently. So if I could do something that could have sort of the same impact to people, that was what I wanted to do. And for that I will always be grateful to her. I'm so sorry that she's gone. That's it's not even about the too soon. It's not. She shouldn't. She shouldn't. She gave me and she gave people in my position so much, and nobody before, and I don't think nobody after her will ever have the sensitivity to actively influence and change lives of little people, fans, like I was. She brought us in and gave us names to make us feel like we were real people to her, not just part of the crowd. And when you're that age, that can change your life, and did change lives. And the only thing that I can hope is that we will do her legacy justice with the way she inspired us.